Section 1 of Not Understood and Other Poems. This is a LibriVox recording. All LibriVox recordings are in the public domain. For more information or to volunteer, please visit LibriVox.org. Read by Beeswaxcandle. Not Understood and Other Poems by Thomas Bracken. Not Understood. Not understood. We move along asunder, our paths grow wider as the seasons creep along the years. We marvel and we wonder why life is life, and then we fall asleep, not understood. Not understood. We gather false impressions and hug them closer as the years go by, till virtues often seem to us transgressions, unless men rise and fall and live and die. Not understood. Not understood. Poor souls with stunted vision oft measure giants by their narrow gauge. The poison shafts of falsehood and derision are oft impelled 'gainst those who mould the age. Not understood. Not understood. The secret springs of action which lie beneath the surface and the show are disregarded. With self-satisfaction we judge our neighbours, and they often go not understood. Not understood. How trifles often change us. The thoughtless sentence or the fancied slight destroy long years of friendship and estrange us, and on our souls there falls a freezing blight. Not understood. Not understood. How many breasts are aching for lack of sympathy? Ah, day by day, how many cheerless, lonely hearts are breaking. How many noble spirits pass away not understood. O God, that men would see a little clearer, or judge less harshly where they cannot see. O God, that men would draw a little nearer to one another. They'd be nearer thee, and understood. End of section 1. Section 2 of Not Understood and Other Poems by Thomas Bracken. This LibriVox recording is in the public domain. Read by Beeswaxcandle. God's Own Country. A recent arrival from New Zealand, walking along Collins Street, Melbourne, a short time since, encountered another Māori-lander, who holds a good position in the Victorian capital. "Well, how do you like Australia?" inquired the recent arrival. "Oh, it is a wonderful place," replied the other, "and I am doing very well here. But I would much sooner live on a far smaller salary in God's own country." Give me God's own country, there to live and there to die. God's own country, fairest region resting 'neath the southern sky. God's own country, framed by nature in her grandest, noblest mould. Land of peace and land of plenty, land of wool and corn and gold, where the forests are the greenest and the rugged mountains rear noble turrets, towers and spires piercing through the ambient air, rising to the gates supernal, pointing Godwards through the blue, when the summer's sunny splendours tip them with a nameless hue, and the gusts of winter gather snow and sleet and mist and cloud, weaving many a curious mantle, many a quaint fantastic shroud. Oh, the mountains of New Zealand, wild and rugged though they be, they are types of highest manhood, landmarks of a nation free. Pleasure ground of the Pacific, brightest region on the main, land of many a rushing river, verdant valley, fertile plain. I revisit thee in fancy, all thy wonders rise once more. Once again enthralled I listen to old Tongariro's roar. Tarawera, roused to fury, belches forth his molten wrath, and a host of fiery demons dance along his flaming path. Boiling cauldrons, foaming geysers, lakes whose bosom leap with fear. Well and truly is it written, Wonderland is really here. Shift the scene. Night grows to morning, morning soon ripens into day. Lovely islands crowd and cluster in a bright and placid bay. Silver ripples shimmer softly on the bosom of the deep, and the mountains see their faces, for the wind is fast asleep. Bay of Islands, Bay of Beauty! Who would dream that such a place should have been a scene of slaughter, man 'gainst man and race 'gainst race? Yonder, in the little churchyard, mouldering tombstones sadly tell tales of valour and of honour, records of how brave men fell in the sacred cause of duty. Thanks to God, those days are o'er, and the old race and the new race now are enemies no more. Sweep we round by Rangitoto, with its rough and rocky crest, grim old guardian of the gateway leading out to ocean's breast. Takapuna slumbers, deeply Waitemata opes its arms, all its loveliness unfolding, circled by 100 charms. Fly we on to Taranaki, and 'neath Egmont's shade we stand. Egmont, monarch of the mountains, bold, majestic, solemn, grand, rising from the pleasant pastures, climbing to the clouds alone, peerless and without a rival, proudly sits he on his throne. It is morning in the summer, and the monarch is arrayed in his pure white cap and mantle, which were never known to fade. All the blue above is speckless. Only one small cloud is seen, sleeping on the mountain's bosom, nestling twixt the gold and green. Now it seems as if awakening, slowly it begins to creep upwards in a spiral column, making for the summit steep. But it fails to reach the apex, so it curls itself away round about the monarch's shoulders, like a silken scarf of grey. And the east flings out its glories on the monarch as he stands, crowning him with sparkling jewels, richly set in golden bands. On we go by happy homesteads, on to Whanganui's flood. Oft were Whanganui's waters in the old time stained with blood. Now along the stately river flocks and herds o'er uplands graze. Peace has swept away for ever traces of the warlike days. Leap we o'er the hills and valleys to Puneke's noble tide, on whose swelling breast the navies of the universe might ride. Safely ride beneath the shadows of the mighty hills that keep watch and ward against the tempests born upon the outer deep. Soar from island unto island, for were we to tarry here, tracing all the Northland's beauties, we might linger for a year. Fancy's wings are swift and silent, o'er the sea and o'er the strait. Canterbury smiles before us. Ah, we have no time to wait. Fly we o'er green pictures shining in their frames of spring's new gold. Fly we past the smiling farmsteads, fly we over field and fold. Onward o'er the pass of Arthur, magic land is drawing near. Halt! The gorge of wildest grandeurs opens up its wonders here. Look below, and gaze above us. Was there ever grander sight? Here is every shade of darkness. Here is every tint of light. Listen to the torrent roaring in the deep ravine below. See the cataracts descending from their home among the snow. See the pine and larch and rata climbing up the mountain walls. Hearken to the tumbling torrents answering the distant falls. Weird Otira, grand Otira, is there any other clime that can show us such a picture, so entrancing, so sublime? Down the gorge and through the valley, over floods that fret and foam, as they rush among the boulders, hastening to their ocean home. Now the matchless forests open all their brightness on the scene, and the gladdened eye is feasting on 100 tints of green. We must leave the lordly forest. Stay, oh stay, the wood nymphs sing. Stay, oh stay, the fairies whisper. Stay, oh stay, the bellbird ring. Fancy will not fold her pinions. Onward, Onward we must go where Mount Cook in icy armour guards his pyramids of snow. Fancy can outwing the lightning, fancy can outwing the wind. Hill and plain and glen and valley soon are left far, far behind. We are resting on the highland over New Edina's town, wrapped in perfect admiration, looking up and looking down. Upwards at the wooded mountains, tinted now by opening day. Downwards at the noble city, stretching round the lovely bay. One short flight, we are sailing over Tyre's plains of corn. Now we cross the lonely ranges, painted by the brush of morn. Wanaka and Manupuri pass before our wondering sight. Hawea in sylvan softness fills us with a calm delight. Wakatipu's deep dark waters, walled by mighty mountains, raise all our highest aspirations, till the soul is filled with praise. Here the poet soon might gather subject for 1,000 lays. Here the artist might discover rich employment all his days. God's own country, God's own country, we must hasten o'er the sea, filled with sweetest recollections of thy beauty, blessing thee, wishing thee all future greatness, bidding thee advance, advance, fruitful land and land of wonders, richest region of romance. Mitre Peak, erect, majestic, slowly vanishes from view, and the distant waves are moaning as we cry adieu, adieu. End of section 2. Section 3 of Not Understood and Other Poems by Thomas Bracken. This LibriVox recording is in the public domain. Read by Beeswaxcandle. Rogers of Eaglehawk. Thank you. I'll drink no more with you. I'm a stranger here. It's my turn to shout. Then I'll be off. I've some work to do. But who is this Rogers they rave about? What has he done to create such fuss? How has he caused such endless talk? To use a slang phrase, why is this thus? Who is this Rogers of Eaglehawk? Tell him, Harry, for you were there, close to the mine, and you ought to know. Listen, mate, if you've got time to spare. You haven't been long upon Bendigo. It's just a fortnight today, and yet, although but a Sydney cornstalk, I'm very anxious to hear, you bet, the story of Rogers of Eaglehawk. Hearken, stranger, to the story. Short it is, and to the point. Some folks say we know no glory, for the times are out of joint. I'm not learned in old romancing, I'm not vast in times gone by, days when errant knights went prancing, fighting for a lady's sigh, or her glove may be, but stranger, never neath the silver sun, by the bravest knightly ranger, was a nobler action done than the deed I'm going to dwell on. August on the 30th day, that the very time it fell on, Rogers rescued Samson Bray. How it happened, mate, you wonder? When I think on it, I know we have heroes still by thunder. They were working down below. They had charged 4 holes. All ready, safe were all the fuses placed. Up they're hauled so firm and steady, yet there's little time to waste. 25 feet up, when, slipping from his hold, poor Samson Bray fell where deep the dark was dipping down the shaft, and there he lay. Quick as lightning, Rogers thundered, "Let me down! Oh, down again!" Though the engine driver wondered, still he turned the engine then. Down went Rogers, quickly leaping from the bucket, on he flew to the spot where death was creeping through the fuses. Then he drew 3 of them away. Thank heaven! But there's a 4th. Too late. He cannot find it, and is driven now to rest on God and fate. Down beside his mate he crouches, down beside his mate to die. Soft is down as stony couches when upon them brave men lie. Loud reports, the whole exploded. Showers of stone and debris fell, and the drive where smoke was loaded like a pit of hell. Are they dead? No, boys, they're living. All them quickly to the plat. Let us thanks to heaven be giving. That's my tale, mate. On this flat I've lived a working digger well nigh 33 year, but I have never known a bigger hero than our hero here. Mates, I'm not much given to gushing, but when I listened to that there tale, at times I felt my cheeks a-flushing, and then I fancied they turned quite pale. Tears in my eyes at times were starting. But hang it, lads, I've a way to walk. Fill up the glasses as we're parting. We'll drink to Rogers of Eaglehawk. End of section 3. Section 4 of Not Understood and Other Poems by Thomas Bracken. This LibriVox recording is in the public domain. Read by Beeswaxcandle. Hurrah for New Zealand. Said freedom to Britain, that bold little nation, I've lately discovered a fine piece of land, and as I intend there to establish a station, I want your best children to give me a hand. Like thee on the water, thy beautiful daughter, a nymph of the ocean, sits proud and elate. Then give me a few men, thy brave and thy true men, to live and to work on my southern estate. My southern estate, my southern estate. In majesty rises a bold and a free land. The starry cross glows o'er the unsullied snows that crown her grand mountains. Hurrah for New Zealand. Then Britain to freedom said, loving defender, thy wish is my law, I am a debtor to thee. Pick out loyal hearts who will honour and tend her, and make my fair daughter a queen of the sea. My Celt and my Saxon shall ne'er turn their backs on the minions of tyranny, envy, or hate. Should they dare assail her, my sons shall not fail her. Their strong arms shall fence in thy southern estate. Thy southern estate, thy southern estate. In majesty rises a bold and a free land. The starry cross glows o'er the unsullied snows that crown her grand mountains. Hurrah for New Zealand. O brothers, our race has a time-honoured story. With pride we look back on the days that are gone. Before us, fame holds in a halo of glory the map of our future and beckons us on. The East with its pleasures, the West with its treasures, the North with its law on our country shall wait. All freemen shall cheer her, and tyrants shall fear her, for freedom's at home on her southern estate. Her southern estate, her southern estate. In majesty rises a bold and a free land. The starry cross glows o'er the unsullied snows that crown her grand mountains. Hurrah for New Zealand. End of section 4. Section 5 of Not Understood and Other Poems by Thomas Bracken. This LibriVox recording is in the public domain. Read by Beeswaxcandle. Our Pet Kangaroo, an Australian idyll founded on fact. We caught the young marsupial one winter ere he learned to spring. His ma was shot, and from her pouch hopped forth the frisky little thing. His story short, his mater's tale was long, and made a rich ragout of novel and romantic feed. We all enjoyed that kangaroo. The little orphan soon became our pet. He quite familiar got. He jumped among the saucepans, though his loving ma had gone to pot. He throve so well and grew so fat, our chef de cuisine, Chong Ah-Lu, petitioned us to let him try his skill upon the kangaroo. But no, we scorned so mean a trick, and made the Tartar attempt to fly. He spoke of soup, and we could see the gravy in his almond eye. his bitter almond eye, for he was cruel to be kind. For you me makee soupy welly lich, or say me puppy kangaloo. But from that day Chong never dared to make the same suggestion. We some kittens lost, but that was not a serious catastrophe. A native bear vamoosed one day. We missed our purebred bull-pup too. We mourned them not, but set our hearts upon the tame young kangaroo. We named him Budgeree. That's good in native lingo, as you know. He earned the appellation well. We watched our pet in goodness grow. We taught him many a harmless trick. He couldn't smoke, but he could chew. We always found him up to snuff. He grew so cute, our kangaroo. He followed us about the house and on our rambles round the run, and when his kin we hunted down, he'd look sedate and watch the fun. We took him once into a ball in Tapley's pub at Bangaboo, and didn't he enjoy the hop? You bet he did, that kangaroo. He skipped right through the gay quadrille and joined the waltz's mazy whirl. He licked the fiddler's foaming pint and kissed the hurdy-gurdy girl. "Du sollst dich nicht tun," she exclaimed, which means, "Now don't, be quiet, do." And no one there enjoyed the spree more fully than our kangaroo. But thunder often follows calm, and clouds at times obscure the sun. Though old, those proverbs still are trite, the lances and a waltz were done, when Tapley jumped upon a chair and said, "I've to announce to you that Dougal Gunn has just arrived." All cheered except the kangaroo. Big Dougal was a kilted Celt, who never swore an English oath. He measured 6 foot 3 or 4, his tartans had not checked his growth. At all the games he prizes won, for bagpipe tunes so well he blew. I thought and said, "He'll charm our pet, for sweet sounds please our kangaroo." Then Dougal marched around the room, with ribbons streaming from his pipes. His mien was royal, though he wore so many brilliant stars and stripes. With cheeks distended, he prepared to play the march of Callum Dhu. Our Budgeree surveyed the pipes, and wondered much, that kangaroo. And now the instrument emits preliminary grunts and groans. Notes wild and fitful rise and swell, the chanter struggles with the drones. And louder still and wilder still the pibroch swells, when madly flew, crash, smash, dash, through the window panes, our peaceful pet, our kangaroo. The narrative is very sad. Full 10 feet high, from off his tail he'd sprung. He couldn't understand the martial music of the gale. We galloped home in hopes to find him safe and sound, but not a clue from that time out we ever found of Budgeree, our kangaroo. And often now, on New Year's Day, when sound the war notes of the Celt through New Edina's streets, old times rush back and cause my eyes to melt. Fond memory conjures up that night in Tapley's pub at Bangaboo, when Budgeree left home and friends and fled afar, poor kangaroo. Yes, yes, whene'er I hear the pipes, old scenes will rise before my gaze. I see the homestead lawn and spring, where wealthy wattles all ablaze made scented sunshades for the lambs. But bah, I'm getting quite too. I talk just like a bleating bard while dreaming of that kangaroo. End of section 5. Section 6 of Not Understood and Other Poems by Thomas Bracken. This LibriVox recording is in the public domain. Read by Beeswaxcandle. The Timaru Wrecks, 1882. Who are earth's heroes? Who are they that claim a shrine immortal in their country's breast, a niche within the citadel of fame, or higher still, a home among the blest? One answers, they are those who in the fight win heaven's approval and the world's applause. the men who die for justice and for right, the men who bleed for freedom's holy cause. Another answers, heroes lead the van of peace and progress in the march of mind, and spread God's treasures at the feet of man, and shed the rays of knowledge o'er their kind. Aye, these and those are heroes, true and brave, whose deeds and words are treasured, fond and fast, whose memories are untarnished by the grave. Heroes who build the future on the past, and raise a stately edifice above the gulf of ages, filled with blood and tears. A human temple round whose shrine of love all men shall gather in the coming years. But there are other heroes on the earth, heroes who often sow but never reap the seed of glory till the second birth. Heroes who often sink and fall asleep in duty's arms, unnoticed and unknown. Heroes who for their fellows nobly die, heroes whose dirge is ocean's solemn moan, mingled with orphan sob and widow's sigh. Such are the heroes whom we honour here, men who have passed on to the light beyond, and those they held in life most true and dear appeal to us for aid. Shall we respond? What were their deeds? We open up the scene. Behold, a spreading city by the sea, belted by sunny slopes and plains of green, and skirted by the foam of breakers free, that leap and dance for joy along the shore, racing like white-haired children on the sand, babbling their mother ocean's mystic lore, whispering her secrets to the silent land. A Sabbath calm is resting o'er the place, and souls are soaring upward from their clay. Celestial smiles gild nature's tranquil face, and thought flies far above life's little day. Out on the sleeping waves, tall vessels ride at anchor, all is calm. Ah, will it last? Look yonder, look! Here comes a storm-spent tide. The murmuring fury of the distant blast sweeps in upon us. God, we are lost! We are lost! The boats! Now pull for land and life. They are off. They're safe. They land through billows tossed and breakers dashed around them in the strife. But lo, along the shore the cry is raised. Man! Man the lifeboat! And a willing band rush forward at the call. The crowd, amazed, behold the gallant fellows leave the land, and plunge through seething surf and furious foam. Hurrah! Hurrah! God speed ye, gallant hearts! Ah, well might they exclaim, God speed ye home! God took them home. The tear of pity starts, but not for those who went, but those who weep for husbands vanished and for fathers gone. Be ours the task to honour them that sleep, by helping those they loved now left alone. Be ours the task. Nay, friends, 'tis not a task, it is a debt of duty we have to pay. God speaks to us when babes and widows ask. We hear his voice and theirs, and we obey. End of section 6. Section 7 of Not Understood and Other Poems by Thomas Bracken. This LibriVox recording is in the public domain. Read by Beeswaxcandle. How von Tempsky Died. Brave young land, thy roll of glory shines with many a gallant name. Thou hast many a thrilling story, dear to honour, true to fame. Thou canst boast a band of heroes, whose undying deeds shall blaze, when thy chronicles of valour shall be read in after days. We are busy with the present, and we seldom glance behind. Busy building up a nation, we seem thoughtless and unkind. Sentiment is out of fashion, gratitude is fast asleep. We have little time for thinking, little time to sing or weep. Little time to sing their praises, or to weep for those who bought peace for us and for our children with their lifeblood, men who fought with the hearts and souls of lions 'gainst a fearless savage foe, trusty rifle against rifle, hand to hand, and blow for blow. For the nonce they are forgotten, but the time is close at hand when the men who saved our country shall be honoured in the land. Then among the line of heroes one shall take a foremost place, one who was not of our people, one who was not of our race, one who followed glory's beacon from his boyhood till he fell, dying like a valiant soldier, after fighting long and well. List the story of von Tempsky, master of the sword and lance. Brief the record, yet it seems like some wild legend or romance. Born of the Germanic nation, in a martial cradle nursed, gallant son of gallant soldier, glory claimed him from the first. For the blood of ancient Poland filled his veins and made his heart leap with a desire to play in freedom's cause a leading part. His a breast that knew not danger, his a stalwart arm and bold, his a nature far too tameless to be cribbed in cages old. All the narrow ways of Europe, all the selfishness of caste, all the tyranny of custom, all the serfdom of the past, roused his eagle soul to anger, and the soldier fled afar to the wild mosquito region, where the hurricane of war blew away the old world cobwebs from his eyes and from his brain, as he led the untamed Indians against the troops of sunny Spain. But again his love of venture took him to the Golden Gate, swept him back once more to Europe, and from thence his wayward fate tempted him across the ocean to the land of cloudless skies, where the hunters after fortune madly sought the precious prize. Not for him the golden treasure, not for him the yellow corn. He was doomed to die a soldier, for a soldier he was born. On the plains of fair New Zealand, savage war was in the air. Plucky yeomen wanted leaders, and von Tempsky's place was there. Are there any forest rangers, any of his comrades here? If there are, then they can tell us of the hero's bright career, how he with the flying column drove the rebels from their lair in the wild Henua ranges, how his rifle's flash and flare marked the van in every movement, how his aim was firm and true, how he was always the foremost when the bullets thickest flew. How he with MacDonald ventured boldly into danger's teeth, moving up at Paparata to the very mouth of death. They could tell of Mangapico, or the famed Orakau's fight, where von Tempsky won fresh laurels by his valour and his might. Peace came in, and spread her mantle all along Waikato's shore, and the hero briefly rested, till war's demon shrieked once more, through romantic Taranaki. Then again he sought the front, ready to protect our banner, and to bear the battle's brunt, ready at the call of duty, ready to fill honour's post, quick to grapple with the foeman, very slow to count the cost. Self with him was next to nothing, bravery was all in all. If we need the proof, 'tis furnished in the picture of his fall. Here it is. Behold the forces, marching boldly through the bush. Ruarua must be taken with a rush. This is fierce Titikuwaru's stronghold, and it must come down. Hunt the rebels from their fastness. Onwards, lads, for queen and crown. Onward, lads. A storm of bullets whistles through the rata trees, and a yell of fierce defiance swells on the September breeze. Back, lads, back. The swarthy devils are invincible. 'Tis vain. We can't storm the pa while bullets fall among us thick as rain. Back, lads. See the troops retreating with their wounded and their dead, while the gallant forest rangers, with von Tempsky at their head, fill the gory gap of danger, covering their friends' retreat, while death's leaden messengers continue flying sharp and fleet. Safely hidden in the ratas are the rebels. Vanished hope leaves confusion close behind her. Open courage cannot cope with the foes who lie in ambush. Chances of success are past. "Under cover, comrades!" cries he, while exposed the leader stood. Whizzed the bullet, and the green grass turned to crimson with his blood, as the gallant soldier's spirit vanished from the soldier's shell. This is how the hero left us. This is how von Tempsky fell. End of section 7. Section 8 of Not Understood and Other Poems by Thomas Bracken. This LibriVox recording is in the public domain. Read by Beeswaxcandle. Pax Vobiscum. In a forest far away, one small creeklet day by day murmurs only this sad lay. Peace be with thee, Lillian. One old box tree bends his head, one broad wattle shades her bed, one lone magpie mourns the dead. Peace be with thee, Lillian. Echoes come on every breeze, sighing through the ancient trees, whispering in their melodies. Peace be with thee, Lillian. Mellow sunbeams, morn and eve, quick to come and slow to leave, kiss the quilt where daisies weave rich designs o'er Lillian. When the dying blossoms cling to the skirts of passing spring, wattle boughs and branches fling showers of gold o'er Lillian. When the summer moon mounts high, queen of all the speckless sky, shafts of silver softly lie o'er the grave of Lillian. Mystic midnight voices melt through each leafy bower and belt, round the spot where friends have knelt. Peace be with thee, Lillian. Far away from town and tower, sleeping in a leafy bower, withered lies the forest flower. Peace be with thee, Lillian. There where passions ne'er intrude, there where nature has imbued with her sweets the solitude, rests the form of Lillian. Dear old forest o'er the sea, home of nature's euphony, pour thy requiem psalmody o'er the grave of Lillian. Guard that daisy-quilted sod, thou hast there no common clod. Keep her ashes safe, for God makes but few like Lillian. Skeptics asked me, is that clay in the forest far away part of her? I only say, flowerets breathe out Lillian. From her grave their sweets mount high, love and beauty never die. Sun and stars, earth, sea and sky, all partake of Lillian. End of section 8. Section 9 of Not Understood and Other Poems by Thomas Bracken. This LibriVox recording is in the public domain. Read by Beeswaxcandle. Leah. Free at last from the gloom that clouded life and love in thy sinking day, thy brow is veiled, thy fair limbs shrouded, clay is married again to clay. Free at last from the curse of beauty, free at last from the weeds that grow round the buds on the path of duty, where genius walks, 'tis better so. Better so when the world grows dreary, better so when young hopes have fled, better so when the heart grows weary, better living among the dead. Living among the dead, I've said it. Some may rot, and some shall rise out of the grave, then who shall dread it? 'Tis but the soulless clod that dies. Strangers smooth thy raven tresses over thy marble brow, my girl. Close thy lips with no fond caresses, close them over the rose of pearl. Strangers sealed up those orbs whose flashes kindled often a quenchless spark, sealed them under their long dark lashes, covered thy face, and then all was dark. Earth to earth, and the clay was scattered, scattered over thy peaceful breast. Dust to dust, and it little mattered, only a woman had gone to rest. What knew they of the passions tameless? They but planted another clod. Let her sleep, though she was not blameless. Give her soul to her Father, God. He is merciful, good, and gracious. He can raise up the weak and low, In the halls of his mansion spacious, scarlet sins are made white as snow. Softly spoken the words and kindly, freezing natures that have not known scorching rays can but measure blindly any heat that is not their own. Night steals on and the leaflets tremble up on the boughs of tall dark trees. Night steals on and the ghosts assemble out on the skirts of sighing seas. Night steals on, the shadows hover round the couch of the dying day. Night steals on and my song is over. All its music has died away. Died away on the waves that sever past from present and shore from shore, melting into the great forever, gone to her who is gone before. End of section 9. Section 10 of Not Understood and Other Poems by Thomas Bracken. This LibriVox recording is in the public domain. Read by Beeswaxcandle. To find the key. An hour of joy, a day of tears, a lesson in life's changeful school, a dream of happy fleeting years, a mad plunge in the whirling pool, a sail upon the waves which flow unto the hidden mystic sea wherein we sink, and then we go to try the lock and find the key. A day of toil, an hour of rest, a week of faith, a year of doubt, a little while on friendship's breast, then mingling with the selfish rout, a flutter on ambition's wings, an earnest longing to be free from worldly cares and earthly things, and then we go to find the key. An hour of peace, a day of sin, a week of joy, a year of strife, a knowledge of the voice within that tells us of the afterlife, an effort through heaven's gates to pry, a pilgrimage of gloom and glee. We bud, we bloom, we fade, we die, and then we go to find the key. End of section 10. Section 11 of Not Understood and Other Poems by Thomas Bracken. This LibriVox recording is in the public domain. Read by Beeswaxcandle. Annihilation. 'Tis not true. Great sire, it cannot be that this bright ray of life we call the soul, this quenchless flame of immortality, emblazoned on thy grand eternal scroll, was kindled in its mortal lamp by thee, to find within the grave its final goal. O bastard creed, conceived in vilest womb of meanest earth, how poor thou makest man! A living atom, fattening for the tomb, and struggling to its jaws as best he can, heir unto nothing but chaotic gloom, the puppet of a dark, designless plan. Cold, dismal science, hatched within a clod, and nursed for blank futurity, in vain thy teachers with their substitute for God proclaim that wrong shall change to right again. Why then are we the tillers of the sod? Why do we sow if others reap the grain? How should the good to come repay the dead, if mind or soul embodied really dies to live no more? The suffering millions fled with all their sorrows and with all their cries for justice, find no solace in the bed of dreamless death from which they may not rise. Were death the climax, then 'twere better fate to browse the peaceful hills, a careless beast, or nestle with some tuneful feathered mate in some green glade, nor look past nature's feast for happiness, nor dream of future state, then be their king, the greatest, yet the least. Shall all our dreamings of a brighter day, shall all our longings for a purer light, shall all our aspirations end in clay? Shall all our hopes be plunged in endless night, and shall the soul be blind for ever? Nay, death cannot veil its strong celestial sight. Annihilation, philosophic lie! Thou canst not rob us of our rightful claim to share our Father's mansion up on high. God is a spirit, and from him we came. His breath is in us, it can never die. Emancipation is death's better name. End of section 11. Section 12 of Not Understood and Other Poems by Thomas Bracken. This LibriVox recording is in the public domain. Read by Beeswaxcandle. Years are stealing. Years are stealing, years are stealing. Youth's bright star is on the wane. Time the mocker is unveiling hope with all her trappings vain. Aerial towers, sylvan bowers, coral cave and golden plain. Blighted, faded are the flowers, the scythe is mowing down the grain. Years are stealing, we see not as we've seen before. Colder grows each finer feeling, warm emotions start no more. Impulsive fire, proud desire, impetuous as ocean's roar, the sable ship is drifting higher, yonder lies the mystic shore. Years are stealing, you and I have gone astray, since within the old home kneeling, we were fondly taught to pray. Pure words spoken, heartfelt token of our homage to his sway. Graves were made, and ties were broken in the old land far away. Years are stealing, where is fortune, where is fame? Where is friendship, soothing, healing? Where is love, ecstatic flame? Friendship's flying, love is dying, in the summertime they came. Winter through the trees is sighing, love and friendship, scorn and shame. Years are stealing, see life's tinsel chariot glide, grasping avarice is wheeling, vanity and vulgar pride. False and shallow, time will swallow, rags and riches in his tide. Millions went, and we must follow, prince or pauper may not bide. Years are stealing, yonder mist is but a tear, the brilliant eye of day concealing. Morn is there, and night is here. In the morning streaks are dawning, heaven's grand refulgent sphere. Clouds at midday, solemn warning, darker shades at night appear. End of section 12. Section 13 of Not Understood and Other Poems by Thomas Bracken. This LibriVox recording is in the public domain. Read by Beeswaxcandle. Waiting for the mail. We're bound to the dear old land with ties of strong affection. We love our island mother still, and would not break the chain which bridges all the present with the past in fond connection, upon whose span the old and new embrace across the main. A highway o'er the mountain waves that plunge in mad commotion is opened up for commerce, and we welcome every sail which brings us news of loving friends we left beyond the ocean. Our hearts beat quick with hope and fear whilst waiting for the mail. A daring soul who fled afar from poverty's oppression, to publish 'neath the free sky proud manhood's rightful claim. The wild unbridled stripling banished from a sire's possession for staining the escutcheon of an ancient honoured name. Awaiting at the post, the youth expecting a remittance. His landlord frowns upon him now and stops his wine and ale. The other sent a trifle home to swell a mother's pittance, and anxiously awaits affection's answer by the mail. Yon sentimental dreamer, who seems lost in meditation, is thinking of the bright-eyed lass he left far o'er the sea. For thee, my girl, I left my home to help to build a nation. She'll surely send a letter kind if she's still true to me. The golden towers of hope spring up before him in his dreaming. Beside him stands a man whose soul ne'er rises o'er a bale of package. Still his busy brain for wealth is ever scheming. With restless eager eye he awaits advices by the mail. That matron with the cheerful smile, who leads the pretty fairy with flaxen curls, expects a loving message from afar. "Oh, mother, what will Granny send this mail to little Mary?" And here's a man who want to know if railways are at par. Those mushroom politicians are discussing Europe's troubles. Miss Lackadaisy's eager for Miss Braddon's latest tale, and Swindleton is wondering if some Antipodean bubbles would float upon the London mart while waiting for the mail. An hour hence, and some will leave the office quite elated, and some until another mail must linger in suspense, while others, more unfortunate to disappointment fated, will swear all friendship is a sham, and love a false pretence. Bright sparks of hope are oft conveyed in some slight simple token, to light the spirit onward, till there's no such word as fail. And after the delivery, true hearts are sometimes broken, but still we nurse each cherished wish, whilst waiting for the mail. End of section 13. Section 14 of Not Understood and Other Poems by Thomas Bracken. This LibriVox recording is in the public domain. Read by Beeswaxcandle. Up a Daisy. Up a daisy, said his mother, when the babe was 3 months old. Up a daisy, and she'd lift him from the rug whereon he rolled. Soon the boy began to prattle, and his lips would strive to say, Up a daisy, but he couldn't master more than, Up a day. Up a daisy, quaint expression, coined in some old nurse's brain, as she tossed some merry baby up and down and up again. But our boy, unversed in diction, takes it in another way. Help, assistance, comfort, succour, seeks he in his up a day? Months flew by, the boy grew stronger. Childhood's little griefs and cares marred some merry, merry moments. Stupid stools and naughty chairs would persist in falling o'er him, and as on the ground he lay, he would kick and scream and scramble, Mama, Mama, up a day! Now he falls across the fender. Now he tumbles on the stairs, screams and sobs and runs to mother with his troubles and his cares. Oh, you naughty boy, what ails you? Sonny, do be quiet, pray. There now, what's the matter? Mama, Mama, up a day! Papa, turn and play me sodgers. Me will shoot with my gun. Fierce the onslaught, Papa's vanquished, baby has the victory won. Ah, the fate of war is cruel, baby's gun breaks in the fray. Oh, my gun is broken. Mama, Mama, up a day! Babyhood is manhood's mirror. Toys and sorrows, smiles and tears find their birthplace in the cradle, growing stronger with the years. Mother is our cry in springtime, but when winter holds his sway, from the depths we raise our voices, Father, Father, up a day! Onward in the march of progress, busy hands and toddling feet, cosy cradle superseded by the cot so snug and neat. Mischief-making little meddler, wearied out at twilight grey, clinging to the skirts of Mama. Me so tired. Then, up a day. Oh, the golden dreams of childhood. Oh, the visions babies see, after they have lisped, Our Father, nodding upon mother's knee. Cares and troubles all forgotten, till the morn's first diamond ray opes the rosebuds and the red lips and the eyelids. Up a day. Once again the little despot rules the house with iron will, jumps and crows and screams and scrambles, not a single moment still. Merry, rippling, silver laughter, sunshine followed soon by spray. Troubles crowd again upon him. Mama, Mama, up a day! Oh, the time will come, my darling, when the hearts that shield thee now shall be silent, and time's furrows will leave traces on thy brow. When the shadows fall upon thee, turn thine eyes from earth away, lift thy voice and cry with fervour, Father, Father, up a day. End of section 14. Section 15 of Not Understood and Other Poems by Thomas Bracken. This LibriVox recording is in the public domain. Read by Beeswaxcandle. The Brooklet in the Glen. Its mellow song, the whole night long, is borne around the tranquil vale, and through the day in cheerful lay it chants a never-ending tale, the history of its life and birth, the secrets of the valley, when from the effusive pores of earth God called it down the glen. The tui's trill upon the hill is answered by 1,000 notes, till one grand swell from nook and dell upon the morning ether floats. But in a voice subdued and low, which tells of things beyond our ken, the brooklet's gentle accents flow, meandering down the glen. The old ocean hoarse ejects with force his foaming tongue to lap the beach, but all in vain he tries to gain the upland prize he cannot reach. True reflex of the passions wild which stir the restless souls of men, the brooklet is a careless child that prattles down the glen. And as it flows, it larger grows until it merges in the sea, and thus the boy from childish joy runs into man's anxiety. The fairy towers we loved to raise are swallowed in life's whirlpool then. There is food for thought in all thy lays, sweet brooklet in the glen. End of section 15. Section 16 of Not Understood and Other Poems by Thomas Bracken. This LibriVox recording is in the public domain. Read by Beeswaxcandle. The Other Side. As we watched the deep grey shadows stealing upwards from the west, when the flowerets in the meadows lock their pearls and go to rest, soaring far beyond the real, oft we view on fancy's tide phantom crews and boats ideal, sailing from the other side. When the midnight gusts are sighing through the saplings tall, tapers dim and embers dying paint quaint shadows on the wall. Treasured forms start up before us, softly through the room they glide, and we hear in loving chorus voices from the other side. Who shall say in vile derision, there is naught but clod to clod? Slavelings of a stunted vision, ye cannot discover God. Fenced within your narrow hedges, truth ye have not yet descried. Ye have no immortal pledges coming from the other side. End of section 16. Section 17 of Not Understood and Other Poems by Thomas Bracken. This LibriVox recording is in the public domain. Read by Beeswaxcandle. Till I Come Back Again. A widow of 70 years died in Portsmouth some time ago, the truth of whose life was stranger than any fiction. At the age of 15 she married the choice of her heart, a young sea captain, and after a brief and happy honeymoon he left her for a foreign voyage. But a ship was never heard from, and doubtless foundered at sea, with all on board. The young husband, as he was dressing for sea on the morning he left home, playfully threw a pair of stockings over his head to test some sailor's charm or other, and they chanced to land on the top of a canopy bedstead, he remarking, "Sarah, let them stay there till I come back." For many and many a long year have they lain, but alas, he never returned. But neither love, nor hopes, nor expectations ever died out in her faithful heart during all the years of her lonely pilgrimage. To the last, whenever a door opened, or a step was heard approaching, she turned to see if it might not be he whom she mourned and sought. But he never came back to her. Let us hope and trust that she has gone to him. But by her desire she was buried in her wedding dress, with white gloves and wedding ring. Home paper. To test some sailor's charm, he threw the stockings o'er his head. They rested on a canopy above the bridal bed. And whilst a sunny laugh played through affection's pearly rain, he said, "Or let them stay there, dear, till I come again." His gallant craft and snowy dress sailed proudly with the tide, and mournfully he waved adieu unto his weeping bride, until the crimson glinting in the west began to wane. She watched the white speck on the sea, and wished it back again. Long weary months of loneliness soon grew to dreary years, But hope was ever at her side to gild her falling tears, and every ocean breeze that brought the music of the main unto her ear sang, "Let them stay till I come back again." The echoes of his last farewell were sung by spring's blithe birds, and summer's zephyrs breathed soft her sailor's parting words, and all the wintry midnight gusts sighed sadly gainst each pane, and through each nook, "Oh, let them stay till I come back again." For nearly 60 years in hope she listened for his voice, and yet no tidings came of him, the husband of her choice. Then putting on her bridal robes, when earthly hopes were vain, she sought him where devoted souls are sure to meet again. End of section 17. Section 18 of Not Understood and Other Poems by Thomas Bracken. This LibriVox recording is in the public domain. Read by Beeswaxcandle. A Winter Lyric. Come, harp of mine, and let's entwine a love wreath round thy chords so light. The storm sprites rave o'er vault and grave, the elements are drunk to-night. Behold the Lord's red flaming swords flash scabbardless across the clouds, and from the deep the sea-ghosts leap along the beach in snowy shrouds. Then sing with me a song of glee, my soul is filled with wildest mirth. 'Tis just the time to chant and chime the praise of our old Mother Earth. Faithful harp, I feel thy strings trembling as my fingers play, and the wailing wind that sings through the crannies joins our lay. And methinks weird sprites on wings hover round the house and say, "Death alone affection brings, true love lies in clay to clay." Loving harp, the truth is told, Mother Earth is true and tried. In her bosom faithful fold slumber soundly side by side. Peer and peasant, young and old, slaves of poverty and pride. Ah, her heart is true as gold, and her love is deep and wide. Harp of mine, again, again warm pulsations fondly stray o'er thy chords, whilst wind and rain 'gainst the windows sing and say, "Woman's heart is false and vain, lovers' vows are light as spray, faithless maid and foolish swain, true love lives in clay to clay." Then sing with me right merrily the praises of our mother kind. Her heart is pure, her love is sure, to all our faults and follies blind. She gives us rest upon her breast, and these poor mortal shells of ours she purifies, and we arise to live again in buds and flowers. Then sing with me a song of glee, my soul is filled with wildest mirth. 'Tis just the time to chant and chime the praise of our old Mother Earth. End of section 18. Section 19 of Not Understood and Other Poems by Thomas Bracken. This LibriVox recording is in the public domain. Read by Beeswaxcandle. The Canterbury Pilgrims. 360 years ago, no more, since godly stood upon the shore, a leader of the pilgrims bold, who framed the new upon the old, and stamped the old upon the new, 'neath speckless skies of sunny blue. 360 years, can this be? 'Tis but a ripple on the sea of time. Oh, what a wondrous change, since o'er the ridge of yonder range hope led the pilgrims firm and true, 'neath speckless skies of sunny blue. They saw, from yonder mountain's brow, plains yearning for the spade and plough, and where the naked rivers ran, vales waiting to be dressed by man. Their help all nature seemed to woo, 'neath speckless skies of sunny blue. They gave the breeze that fanned the foam sweet farewell sighs to carry home, but though old Albion was dear, they saw a fairer England here awaiting them, the dauntless few, 'neath speckless skies of sunny blue. Behold their work, revere their names, greened pictures set in golden frames around the city of the stream, fulfill the pilgrim's brightest dream. With them a fairer England grew, 'neath speckless skies of sunny blue. End of section 19. Section 20 of Not Understood and Other Poems by Thomas Bracken. This LibriVox recording is in the public domain. Read by Beeswaxcandle. Woman's Rights. Some people think that women should compete in life's swift race with men and gain each privilege, position, power and place which he enjoys. I can't agree with those progressive lights. I'll tell you what appears to me to be fair woman's rights. When passion's young ecstatic fire first kindles in our veins, 'tis woman's right to bind our hearts in Cupid's rosy chains. She wields a queenly sceptre then, which we must needs obey. We're building castles in the night, and dreaming all the day. 'Tis woman's right to be caressed when love is in the spring, and when affection's harvest comes, her right it is to bring the garnered fruits of happiness to cheer man's dreary way, to smooth his rougher nature, and refine his coarser clay. 'Tis woman's right to wean us from our selfishness and greed, a counsellor in trouble, and a faithful friend in need. 'Tis woman's right to lead us from the foot of Mammon's throne, and take us to a nobler shrine, where purer joys are known. 'Tis woman's sacred right, and this to her by God is given, to teach the lisping little ones the password into heaven. No joy man knows on earth can with a mother's bliss compare, when, listening with the angel choir, she hears her child's first prayer. 'Tis woman's right to lean on man in sorrow and distress, for he was made to comfort her, and she was made to bless. Her bulwark against danger, be she daughter, sister, wife, or mother, he should guard her well, aye, even with his life. 'Tis woman's right, ere we prepare to battle in life's van, to shape our future destinies and mould the mind of man. And here, where we're erecting on Pacific's breast a state, the mothers of our rising race can make it poor or great. End of section 20. Section 21 of Not Understood and Other Poems by Thomas Bracken. This LibriVox recording is in the public domain. Read by Beeswaxcandle. Away with Regret. To W.E. Away with regret. Though some words lightly spoken were echoes of hopes which we cannot recall, the lily will bloom though a petal be broken. The rose does not droop though a leaflet may fall. The sun that illumined love's dreamings ideal at eve, 'neath the shroud of despair may have set. But morning will bring him in majesty real, to melt with his rays all the clouds of regret. Away with regret, and away with dejection. Though withered are some of the young buds of love, bright flowerets of far more enduring affection will blossom when spring brings new notes to the dove. The seedlings we cast on a cold soil may perish, we lose them, but still it is foolish to fret. The next time we sow, let fertility cherish the heart's ease we prize, then away with regret. Away with regret, when the heart lies in fallow. 'Tis but a coarse weed that spreads over the ground. It only takes root where the surface is shallow, and dies when the summer of love comes around. 'Tis vain to look back, for the past we can't alter. The future remains in our own keeping yet. Hope's goal is before us, and why should we falter? We're marching to God, then away with regret. End of section 21. Section 22 of Not Understood and Other Poems by Thomas Bracken. This LibriVox recording is in the public domain. Read by Beeswaxcandle. The Vilest Fiend of All. O thou invisible spirit of wine, If thou hast no name to be known by, let us call thee Devil. Othello. False spirit, take thy fiendish shape, thy name is demon and not wine. Dost thou cling to the purple grape? Dost thou seek shelter 'neath the vine? Nay, cling to thy patron Death, and hide thee 'neath his blackest pall. Throughout creation's length and breadth, thou art the vilest fiend of all. What are thy crimes? Go, ask the grave, that yawning waits its lifeless clod, thy murdered serf, thy poisoned slave, a type once of the living God. The shrieks within the maniac's cell, the chain clinks yond the prison's wall, the wails and groans of millions tell thou art the vilest fiend of all. What are thy crimes? Yon soulless thing was once God's image pure and fair. Yea, fiend, as witnesses I'll bring lust, hatred, murder, and despair to prove thy guilt. The fiercest flame that burns below when sinners fall is fed by thee. Remorse and shame proclaim thee vilest fiend of all. What are thy crimes? Thy counsel's plea is this: thou'rt good, and we should prize heaven's gifts. But I do view in thee a cruel devil in disguise. Before thee peace and comfort fly, replaced by senseless feud and brawl. Near thee truth, love, and honour die. Thou art the vilest fiend of all. O God of justice, God of right, why is the world so full of woe? Why are souls withered by this blight? Is this the working of thy foe, the rebel sire of sin and crime, who makes thy likeness man his thrall? O Father, shield our newborn clime from this the vilest fiend of all. End of section 22. Section 23 of Not Understood and Other Poems by Thomas Bracken. This LibriVox recording is in the public domain. Read by Beeswaxcandle. New Zealand Hymn. God of nations, at thy feet in the bonds of love we meet. Hear our voices, we entreat. God defend our free land. Guard Pacific's triple star from the shafts of strife and war. Make her praises heard afar. God defend New Zealand. Men of every creed and race gather here before thy face, asking thee to bless this place. God defend our free land. From dissension, envy, hate, and corruption guard our state. Make our country good and great. God defend New Zealand. Peace, not war, shall be our boast, but should foes assail our coast, make us then a mighty host. God defend our free land. Lord of battles, in thy might, put our enemies to flight. Let our cause be just and right. God defend New Zealand. May our mountains ever be freedom's ramparts on the sea. Make us faithful unto thee. God defend our free land. Guide her in the nation's van, preaching love and truth to man, working out thy glorious plan. God defend New Zealand. End of section 23. Section 24 of Not Understood and Other Poems by Thomas Bracken. This LibriVox recording is in the public domain. Read by Beeswaxcandle. The Tramp of the Fire Brigade. 'Tis grand to hear the trumpet clear when it calls the soldier on, to prove his might in the field of fight where valiant deeds are done. And the gallant tread of the troops when led by their leader's flashing blade sounds loud and true. But there's music too in the tramp of the Fire Brigade. No prouder tramp in field or camp, on march or on parade, than the firemen's tread as they rush ahead. Hurrah for the Fire Brigade! The flames flash high, and the lurid sky reflects the fiery glare, and the inmates shriek, and the timbers creak, and the crackling rafters flare. And the deep-toned bell with brazen knell makes frantic cries for aid. Keep back, and clear the track, make room for the fire brigade. No prouder tramp in field or camp, on march or on parade, than the firemen's tread as they rush ahead. Hurrah for the fire brigade! That noble band, at their chief's command, mount up on the crumbling walls, with axe and hose where the red flame glows, and the blazing roof-tree falls. The crowd retreat from the scorching heat, but the firemen undismayed, with courage true the flames subdue. Hurrah for the fire brigade! No prouder tramp in field or camp, on march or on parade, than the firemen's tread as they rush ahead. Hurrah for the fire brigade! End of section 24. Section 25 of Not Understood and Other Poems by Thomas Bracken. This LibriVox recording is in the public domain. Read by Beeswaxcandle. A paper from home. Alone with his dog when the night veil was falling, a digger sat dreaming of times that were fled. For memory was painting old scenes and recalling dear faces and forms from the realms of the dead. His fancy renewed the old pictures long faded. The sheet in his hand seemed a leaf from life's tome, its paragraphs bright and its articles shaded. He smiled and he sighed o'er that paper from home. A light-hearted boy, he embraced the old people. He rushed from the school with his mates to the green. He climbed up the ivy that wrapped the church steeple, which stood on the hill to watch over the scene. He blew from his childish pipe fanciful bubbles. He floated his reed on the rivulet's foam. The mountain of hope hid the ocean of troubles, and fairies danced over that paper from home. He sat in the dell where the lilac was swinging. The thrush and the blackbird were warbling above. A raven-haired girl to his bosom was clinging. Their eyes exchanged draughts from the fountains of love. Where is the fond one that used to adore him? A black cloud crept o'er the ethereal dome. A crystal pearl dropped on the journal before him, and down on the ground fell the paper from home. End of section 25. Section 26 of Not Understood and Other Poems by Thomas Bracken. This LibriVox recording is in the public domain. Read by Beeswaxcandle. The Winds. Who has not heard the sighing and the moaning and the crying as of troubled spirits flying through the winds on some dreary winter's night, when the cat-eyed owl in fright from its hiding place takes flight through the winds, and the curlews scream aloud, and each quaintly fashioned cloud is swept o'er earth's gloomy shroud by the winds. Oh, there's something sad yet sweet about those winds. For they carry us back on fancy's track, o'er the deep dark ocean's foam, and we mingle again with the loving train in our childhood's happy home. Each fond, kind face, the dear old place, smiles on us as of yore, and we hear the wail of the blast and the hail about and against the door. And the wild gusts screech through the elm and beech, till the leaves seem living things, through each cranny and nook, and by streamlet and brook, old Boreas whistles and sings. But we heed not the storm, for our home is warm, and the friends we prize most are near. They're entwined round our heart. Ah, why must we part from the dear ones we value most dear? But they are gone, aye, gone before us, down life's river to death's shore. Thus we must go, and o'er us the sad winds will chart wild songs for ages, when savage winter rages. Death is all mortals' wages. Sing the winds, sing the winds. Ah, where is the great man's glory? The brave, the wise, the hoary. Go, listen to their story from the winds, from the winds. Oh, a lesson we can learn from those winds. End of section 26. Section 27 of Not Understood and Other Poems by Thomas Bracken. This LibriVox recording is in the public domain. Read by Beeswaxcandle. Old Bendigo. Let Polly go with Redmond. Mind, be careful of the steer. Bring Bob and Rambler from the creek. They'll find good picking here. Just fling this she-oak on the fire. There, catch that end. Now throw. This minds me of our maiden trip to dear old Bendigo. Old Bendigo, thy very name is treasured in my breast. It is past the billy this way, Jack. Not boiled yet? Well, I'm blessed if that there wood will ever burn. This iron bark is slow. You knew the gully of that name on dear old Bendigo? No, when we camped upon the track. The damper must be done. Around the blazing log at night, what tough old yarns were spun by Sydney Ned and Derwent Bill and Murrumbidgee Joe. Where are they now? Ah, mate, they'll drive no more to Bendigo. I can't help laughing when I think, oh mate, just pass a chew, of that 'ere time when Murphy's team got bogged at Carlsrue. Big Barney Fagan shouted, whilst the wheels were bidding low, "Figs, boys, there's some deep sinking on the road to Bendigo." Mount Macedon is gazing down as proudly as of old, and Alexander's lofty brow looks over fields of gold. They never shift, but where are all the friends we used to know on Castlemaine and Forest Creek and dear old Bendigo? No other land has mustered such a kingly race of men as that brave Golden Legion on the march to fortune then. The digger's shirt was freedom's badge, beneath it honour's glow lit up a generous manly flame on dear old Bendigo. Old mate of mine, together we have roughed it through the bush for 20 years, and time begins to lay his frosting brush upon our heads, but in our hearts the flowers of friendship grow as fresh as when we planted them on dear old Bendigo. I sigh whene'er I think upon, Jack, pass along the grub, the music of the pudding mill, the cradle and the tub, the hurdy-gurdies, German bands and minstrels too. Why, blow it, you've upset the tea on dear old Bendigo. The track of life is sometimes smooth, at other times 'tis rough, but we must take it as it comes. This beef is rather tough. I feel a spider on my cheek. I've caught the varmint. No, why bless me, if it ain't a tear for dear old Bendigo. End of section 27. Section 28 of Not Understood and Other Poems by Thomas Bracken. This LibriVox recording is in the public domain. Read by Beeswaxcandle. Requiem. Adam Lindsay Gordon. Come, ye winds, and chant sad dirges, where the restless billows roam, and the sandbanks kiss the verges of the ever-shifting foam. Sweep along the ocean slowly, for a bard is resting near, and his harp is lying lowly in the shadow of his bier. Sobbing through the tea-tree bushes, low and tender, loud and wild, melancholy music gushes, pensive nature mourns her child. He her secrets could unravel, he had read her mystic page, oft with her his soul would travel, bursting from its earthly cage. He rode on the tempest's pinions when the sheets of molten gold flashed across her broad dominions, and the drums of heaven rolled. He smiled with her in her gladness, he wept with her in her gloom, till sorrow linked with madness tore the curtain off the tomb. Censure not the frenzied action, he but plunged where all must halt. Goaded on by fierce distraction, his the secret, his the fault. Rest him where the ocean plashes to the moaning of the wind. Death but robbed us of his ashes, he has left his thoughts behind. End of section 28. Section 29 of Not Understood and Other Poems by Thomas Bracken. This LibriVox recording is in the public domain. Read by Beeswaxcandle. Bush Children. Eyes of hazel and of blue, raven locks and golden tresses, lips of rosy tinted hue, pouting for the fond caresses, laughter filling hearts with joy as the merry moments whirl. Father loves his manly boy, mother dotes upon her girl. Gambolling across the glade, sporting through the tea-tree mazes, resting neath the wattle shade when the summer's red sun blazes, fondling the dear pet lamb, patting Bob the sleek old collie, teasing Bill the aged ram, driving Redmond, Sam and Polly. Seeking for the possum's nest in the wrinkled box-tree hollow, breaking in upon his rest. Let him run, and Pinch will follow. Hunting for the hidden sweets where the wild bush bees are humming, listening for the cheerful bleats when the shepherd home is coming. Willie, give the lads a call, we must have a game of cricket. Jack and you can stop the ball, I will stand to guard the wicket. Play your game, ye merry crew, now's the time for recreation. By and by there's work to do, ye have yet to build a nation. End of section 29. Section 30 of Not Understood and Other Poems by Thomas Bracken. This LibriVox recording is in the public domain. Read by Beeswaxcandle. Dunedin from the Bay. Go, traveller, to others boast of Venice and of Rome, of saintly Mark's majestic pile and Peter's lofty dome, of Naples and her trellised bowers, of Rhineland far away. These may be grand, but give to me Dunedin from the Bay. A lovely maiden seated in a grotto by the shore, with richest crown of purest green that virgin ever wore, her snowy breast bedecked with flowers and clustering ferns so gay. Go picture this, and then you have Dunedin from the Bay. A fairy, round whose brilliant throne great towering giants stand, as if impatient to obey the dictates of her wand. Their helmets hidden in the clouds, their sandals in the spray. Go picture this, and then you have Dunedin from the Bay. A priestess of the olden time, ere purer rites had birth, on nature's altar offering up the homage of the earth, surrounded by grim druids robed in mantles green and grey. Go picture this, and then you have Dunedin from the Bay. Oh, never till this breast grows cold can I forget that hour, as standing on the vessel's deck I watched the golden shower of yellow beams that darted from the sinking king of day, and bathed in a mellow flood Dunedin from the Bay. End of section 30. Section 31 of Not Understood and Other Poems by Thomas Bracken. This LibriVox recording is in the public domain. Read by Beeswaxcandle. The Beggar's Prayer. A Digger's Tale. I'll tell you how it happened, mate. We worked in wet and cold the winter through, until at last we struck upon the gold. Though Charlie had a woman's frame, it held a lion's heart, and day by day, in shaft and drive, he nobly did his part. I was his mate before the rush to Gabriel's began. I loved him, for I knew him to be every inch a man. Times are changed. People now are not what they were then. The boys who wore the yellow pants in those old days were men. The Bible tells us, as you know, we are all made from dust, and to the same material return again we must. But still, I can't believe that all are moulded the same way, for Charlie was a brick, you see, and made of common clay. Besides, he had a poet's soul, and often in his ear old nature whispered secrets sweet, which I could never hear. And yellow clouds that were to me but vapour in the sky, to him were golden pictures from the brush of God on high. Well, as I was just telling you, we came upon the gold. 'Twas Charlie's shift below, you see. The day was wet and cold, and I was at the windlass when I heard my poor mate cry, "For God's sake, Harry, haul me up, for I'm about to die. Upon the muster roll of death I've heard them call my name. I go to take possession of a richer, better claim. Just listen, Harry, listen, don't you hear it over there? I know it is, I'm sure it is, that long-remembered prayer." "Some strange odd fancy, mate," I cried, "is wandering through your mind. The only sound I hear is the low wailing of the wind amongst the wild flax and the gorge, and all the mountains bare." "Nay, 'tis not that. Come closer, and I'll tell you about that prayer. 'Twas winter in the dear old land, and I was but a child. December of the sullen brow, with voice so weird and wild, laughed round the mansions of the rich, where comfort reigned secure, and hailed with fiendish glee about the hovels of the poor. Night gathered all her curtains o'er the groves of leafless beech, and on the ruined abbey walls the owls began to screech. The swift electric swords of heaven flashed from each sable sheath, and shivering poplars humbly bent to kiss the shrubs beneath. The tempest marched triumphantly along its gloomy path, and e'en the oak obeisance made to nature in her wrath. Yet all the dear ones laughed and joked within our home, and I received that night a silver crown, for Christmas time was nigh. But hark! A low knock at the door disturbed our mirth and glee, and I ran forth to open it. "For Christ's dear sake, help me! My little ones are starving, we are hungry, weak and cold. Oh, help us, boy, and may God keep you ever in his fold." A wretched, ragged creature with her little starvelings 4 made this appeal as cold and wet they shivered at our door. I thought not of the Nazarene's impressive love command. Young impulse urged me, and I placed my crown within her hand. She threw herself upon her knees, whilst tears sprang from her eyes, and raising up her hands in prayer and looking to the skies, she cried, "May God protect you, child, through all this world of sin, and when you reach his palace doors, may angels let you in." Oh, Harry, through my long, long years of wandering since that night, in weal and woe, across my path that prayer has shed a light. I heard it in the drive today, when sickness struck me down. The voice said, "For your silver coin you'll get a golden crown." Oh, Harry, dear old mate, goodbye. I hear that voice again, and yonder opes the palace gates beyond the azure plain. God bless you, mate. Remember that the path to bless is sure to all who practice charity. Then don't forget the poor. End of section 31. Section 32 of Not Understood and Other Poems by Thomas Bracken. This LibriVox recording is in the public domain. Read by Beeswaxcandle. Spirit of Song. Where is thy dwelling place? Echo of sweetness, seraph of tenderness, where is thy home? Angel of happiness, herald of fleetness, thou hast the key of the star-blazoned dome. Where lays that never end? Up to God's throne ascend, and our fond heart wishes lovingly throng, soaring with thee above, bearer of truth and love, teacher of heaven's tongue, spirit of song. Euphony, born in the realms of the tearless, mingling thy notes with the voices of earth, wanting thee all would be dreary and cheerless, weaver of harmony, giver of mirth, comfort of child and sage, with us in youth and age, soothing the weak and inspiring the strong, illumining the blackest night, making the day more bright. O, thou art dear to us, spirit of song. Oft in the springtime sweet words of affection are whispered by thee in thy tenderest tone, and in the winter dark clouds of dejection by thee are dispelled till all sorrow has flown. Thou'rt with the zephyrs low, and with the brooklet's flow, and with the feathered choir all the day long. Happy each child of thine, blessed with thy gifts divine, charming our senses, sweet spirit of song. End of section 32. Section 33 of Not Understood and Other Poems by Thomas Bracken. This LibriVox recording is in the public domain. Read by Beeswaxcandle. Little Violet. She met me on the garden walk, her bright eyes filled with mirth and glee, and listening to her prattling talk, my childhood's days returned to me. "And don't you know my name?" she said. "Why, no," I answered. "We've not met before, my charming little maid." Then she replied, "I'm Violet." "Indeed? Well, that's a pretty name." And I wandered back to sunnier hours, and little Violet became far fairer than the other flowers that grew around her where she stood. Each pansy, pink, mignonette, smiled sweetly at their sister bud, the tender little Violet. I gazed into her pure bright eyes, where nestled childish innocence. Then she, with look so very wise, took me into her confidence, and told me all her griefs and joys, how babies often scream and fret, how brother robbed her of her toys, and broke the dolls of Violet. How cherries grow upon a tree, how grandpapa lived far away, where big ships swim across the sea, and she was filing there to stay. Youth's blossoms made my heart its bower, but near it sprang the weed, regret. I plucked the weed and kept the flower, and called it Memory's Violet. There's rapture in the blithesome time, when love inhales young passion's breath. The poet's is a joy sublime, the Christian's happiness is death. But in pure childhood's thoughtless bliss, a taste of heaven and earth we get, more of the other life than this. Earth's angels are like Violet. End of section 33. Section 34 of Not Understood and Other Poems by Thomas Bracken. This LibriVox recording is in the public domain. Read by Beeswaxcandle. Old Letters. What stories of the vanished time these dear old letters bring! They strike the chords of memory that round the heart's core cling. These whisper softly in our ears of forms and faces fled. They summon back the distant ones and conjure up the dead. They fan the smouldering flame of thought that slumbers in the brain. They preach a plaintive sermon, and they chant a sad refrain. With trembling hands and beating hearts we ope these letters old. A little history is hid within each crumpled fold. They tell of love, they tell of grief, perchance they tell of shame, and oft they call a heart's pearl up to bathe some cherished name. And sometimes, too, they bring us back deceit and friendship's guise, the shallow thing that comes in spring and in the winter dies. While pondering on the faded ink, ambition wakes once more, and hope, exulting, cheers us on and calls us to the fore. Proud thoughts and noble impulses flash through the noble mind, but soon they're blown by reason's breath, like thistledown by wind. The bright ideal dreamings fade before the lamp of truth. Ah, still 'tis hard to part with these dear nurslings of our youth. Old letters! Oft you tell us tales of pleasant evenings spent, where mirth and wit and beauty reign, surrounded by content. And tender forms are stayed again, and little hands are pressed, and vows are breathed softly too, and sweet lips are caressed. We spell the fond words o'er and o'er, until each sentence seems a passage in some magic book that tells of fairy dreams. Sweet messengers! Some of ye crossed the wild expanse of foam, with throbbings of affection culled from many a breast at home. The tear-stained paper yet recalls bright eyes that used to glow with pleasure in our joyousness, and in our grief o'erflow. The merry haunts of boyhood's days before our visions start. The queen of painters, Nature, finds her easel in the heart. And sometimes in the heap we find a missive edged with gloom. We open up the envelope and peep into the tomb. What? Have they placed these noble forms to rot beneath the sod? Has heaven no higher mission for the images of God? The spirit gusts that sigh at night through cypress trees reply, the jewel wears no casket in the treasury on high. Old letters, ye are records of events which leave a trace upon the map of memory, and marching on apace, we often turn and gaze across the continents and isles. Those tracts are robed in sombre hues, these spots are decked with smiles. When evening shades the mountain tops, and twilight shadows swell, old letters, ye are wizards then, that weave a dreamy spell. End of section 34. Section 35 of Not Understood and Other Poems by Thomas Bracken. This LibriVox recording is in the public domain. Read by Beeswaxcandle. Passing Through the Gate. 10 years of sorrow and of glee have fled since first you met with me. When mother asked you home to tea, you stayed until 'twas late, Jack. And when you wished us all good night, to show you out I brought the light. You caught my hand and pressed it tight while passing through the gate, Jack. You came again, and when we met, you said I was your darling pet. You praised my hair and eyes of jet, and called me pretty Kate, Jack. At your approach, though Snap was dumb, the cute old possum in the gum laughed loudly when he saw me come to meet you at the gate, Jack. A month had scarcely died away, when on a bright-faced summer's day, a coach and pair, the horses grey, my heart retains the date, Jack, drove up the lane and stopped before the rose-bush hedge that faced our door, and 2 light bosoms bringing o'er with joy passed through the gate, Jack. And months of pleasure came and went, and each new season brought content. 3 love gifts unto us were sent. Our happiness was great, Jack. A manly boy reflecting you, and Lily with her orbs of blue, and Kate with eyes of hazel hue. Oh, blessings on that gate, Jack. But angels sometimes leave their homes, and o'er earth's lovely valleys roam, in search of buds to deck the dome above God's throne of state, Jack. They came into our garden fair, and gathered up our flowerets rare. Then climbing up yon starry stair, they brought them through the gate, Jack. The withered stalks fall neath the sod, and sorrow hung o'er our abode. Some said it was the will of God, and others said 'twas fate, Jack. The summer came and spring went by. The world seemed blank to you and I. No merry laugh, no childish cry was heard about the gate, Jack. But peace has come to us again. We're linked to them with deathless chain. Beyond the sun, beyond the plain, we know for us they wait, Jack. And when we've run this earthly race, in heaven for us they'll keep a place, where soul to soul and face to face, they'll meet us at the gate, Jack. End of section 35. Section 36 of Not Understood and Other Poems by Thomas Bracken. This LibriVox recording is in the public domain. Read by Beeswaxcandle. The Auctioneer. Above the chatty, curious crowd is perched the auctioneer. His front is bold, his voice is loud, his eye is sharp and clear. He swings his hammer, ere it falls the rostrum front upon. "Now is there no advance?" he calls. "They're going, gone." "Who bids for these?" They're up in pairs, and those in lots are sold. There's sofas, lounges, tables, chairs, and pictures, good as gold. And here are rings, they're really nice for ladies fair to don. These must be sold at any price. They're going, gone. Now, gentlemen, for those who read, we've many a well-bound tome. Ah, those are household gods indeed, which make a heaven of home. Philosophers and bards who shed their light on reason's dawn, the stores from whence the mind is fed, they're going, gone. A locket lined with golden hair is going for a crown. Some breast is tenanted by care, some fond heart is knocked down. And here pledges unredeemed, bright trinkets from the pawn. Alas, their owners little dreamed of going, gone. The world is but an auction mart, where time is auctioneer. Vain pleasure gets an easy start. True happiness is dear. Hope runs us up, but in death's breach we're knocked down one by one. We're going till the grave we reach, and then alas, we're gone. End of section 36. Section 37 of Not Understood and Other Poems by Thomas Bracken. This LibriVox recording is in the public domain. Read by Beeswaxcandle. Orakau. 300 swarthy braves at Orakau, and from the hills and gorges of Dopo, savage warriors from Urewera, gathered together to defend the land from the encroachments of the Pakeha. The Ngate Maniopoto were there, led on by Rewi Manga, the fearless. Te Parata, famed in many fights, commanded the Ngati Rakawa tribe. He was the warrior who cried aloud, "Memate o Kikonai," which means, "Let us make the Pa here, let us die here." The dauntless chief Te Whenua Nui and Hapurono of Urewera headed their wild and savage warriors. Tawaru was there with his East Coast braves, and other chiefs famed in song and story met on the spot to resist the spoilers who had taken the land from the Maori in the name of the Queen of the far land. Only 300 warriors were there, entrenched within the weak, unfinished Pa. Only 300 brave men and women to meet the Pakeha who surrounded the sod-built fortress with his well-drilled troops. Nearly 2,000 hardy Britons, the Royal Irish and the Forest Rangers, and 40th fighters under Leslie. 'Twas the second morning of April, when the colours in nature's dress were changing from the brown and russet hues of autumn to the dark and sadder shades of winter. 300 lion-hearted warriors assembled with Rewi to fan the flame of deadly hatred to the Pakeha into a vengeful blaze at Orakau. Chanting the deeds of their ancestors, they cried aloud, "Memate te tangata, memate mo te whenua," which means, "The warrior's death is to die for the land." Roaring for blood, our early gun rent the clouds like a thunderclap. "Carey," cried, "there's work to be done." Close to the walls we pushed the sap. "Ready, lads, with your hand grenades. Ready, lads, with your rifles true. Ready, lads, with the trusty blades. Ready, lads, with your bayonets too. Now for the Armstrongs, let them roar. Death unto those that laugh at peace. Into their nest our volleys pour. Steady there, let the firing cease." 'Tis Cameron's voice. "Tell the foe to leave the par. Their lives we'll spare. Tell them Britons can mercy show. Nothing but death awaits them there." The Major Mayor, with flag of truce, before the Maori stood, and said, "O friends, be warned in time. We do not seek your blood. Surrender, and your lives are safe." Then through the whole redoubt the swarthy rebels answered with a fierce defiant shout, "Ka whawhai tonu, ake, ake, ake." Again spake gallant Mayor, "O friends, You wish for blood and strife with blind and stubborn bravery, preferring death to life. But send your women and your children forth, they shall be free. They answered back, Our women brave will fight as well as we. Kafafa tono, ake, ake, ake. Up rose brave Ahumai then, a chieftainess, and said, Oh, what have we to live for if our dearest ones be dead? If fathers, husbands, brothers too, as mangled corses lie, why should we stay behind them here? Beside them let us die. Kafafa tono, ake, ake, ake. Again the fiery-throated cannon roared aloud for blood. Again the hungry eagle swooped and shrieked for human food. Again wild spirits soaring saw their shattered shells beneath the pools of gore, and still was heard defiance to the death. Kafafai tono, ake, ake, ake. Now the bold defenders in a solid body break, right through the sod-built barricade, o'er palisade and stake, and leaping o'er the trenches mid a storm of shot and shell, they rushed to liberty or death, still shouting as they fell, Kafafai tono, ake, ake, ake. With wild untutored chivalry the rebels scorned disgrace. Oh, never in the annals of the most heroic race was bravery recorded more noble or more high than that displayed at Orakau in Rewie's fierce reply. Kafafai tono, ake, ake, ake. End of section 37. Section 38 of Not Understood and Other Poems by Thomas Bracken. This LibriVox recording is in the public domain. Read by Beeswaxcandle. The Boy and the Year. Come out, dear father, come and see this weary-looking man. His hair is grey and very thin, his face is pale and wan. With tottering steps he slowly wends his way down yonder hill. The sun is shining warm and bright, and yet he seems quite chill. His eye is dimmed by sorrow, yet he has a kingly mien. I'm sure that he far happier and better days has seen. I think I know his features well, and yet it cannot be. Dear father, come and look on him, and tell me who is he? My darling boy, you speak aright. We've seen that face before, but then, instead of sorrow streaks, a cheerful smile it wore. He came to us, 'twill be 12 months ago to-morrow morn. His brow was crowned with evergreens and sheaves of golden corn. We welcomed him with open arms, and many a rural game was played to honour him, for joy and gladness with him came. His eye was filled with manly fire, his breath was fresh and pure. Majestically he stood erect, his step was firm and sure. Dear father, I remember him. The morning he came here, you kissed myself and Amy, and we christened him New Year. The church bells rang a merry peal, and filled our hearts with glee, and little Amy laughed. But now she's gone from you and me. You said that mother called her to the land beyond the stars, where angels paint the silver clouds, and forge the golden bars that gird the sun at eventide. But New Year must have known that Amy meant to leave us here in sorrow all alone. My darling boy, the New Year has a mission to fulfill. Our Supreme Master sent him here to do his holy will. With smiles for some, and tears for more, 'tis sinful to complain, for pleasure would engender pride, unless subdued by pain. If yon bright orb shone constantly, and never hid his light, we'd soon get weary of his rays, and wish for sable night. If those sweet roses blooming in the garden ne'er decayed, their fragrance would be wasted, and their loveliness would fade. But, father, I am thinking still that New Year was to blame. Deceitful smiles were on his face the morning that he came. He fondled our dear Amy, and she sang to him so gay. He should have told us that he meant to take her far away. The night she left us, father dear, I thought my heart would break. You said she only was asleep, that soon she would awake. But months have passed, and still she slumbers in the narrow cave, beneath the pretty pansies that we planted on her grave. The year is not to blame, my son, for wheresoe'er he walks, behind his back with mocking strides a ghastly spectre stalks, who crushes off the fairest flowers until their leaves are dead. Their essence he cannot destroy, for soaring o'er his head a lovely angel gathers up the fragrant balm and pours the sweet elixir in the stream beyond the azure doors, where cherubs live and seraphs sing their never-ending lays. Our Amy is above with them, and joins their song of praise. Oh, father dear, I wish that I were up with Amy too. You say the bowers are beautiful beyond the aerial blue. Each new year seems to bring along a load of care and strife. There seems to be less bliss than pain, dear father, in this life. The hopes we cherish most today, tomorrow change to fears. The smiles that gild our cheeks today, tomorrow turn to tears. Our dearest friends are here today, but ere the morning fly, like mother dear and Amy, to the realms beyond the sky. My son, you should not murmur thus. The tide that laves the beach can rush along its measured pace, but further cannot reach. And like unto it is the grasping intellect of man. It searches to the gates of heaven, but further cannot scan. Then face the world bravely, boy, and let repining cease. Let honour be your compass, and your harbour will be peace. Year after year may come and go, but death the tyrant gains. No victory o'er the honest heart, where calm contentment reigns. End of section 38. Section 39 of Not Understood and Other Poems by Thomas Bracken. This LibriVox recording is in the public domain. Read by Beeswaxcandle. Kaitangata. On the 21st of February 1879, a colliery explosion took place at the Kaitangata mines, by which 30 lives were sacrificed. The touch of God is on the cord which runs through all humanity from heart to heart. The hand divine that holds the stars and sun strikes on love's string, and inner voices start, proclaiming we are each of each a part. The priest of nature may expound this truth. Afflictions are but solemn lessons read to mortals. Science still is in her youth. The living gain their knowledge through the dead. All human suffering points the road ahead. It may be so. Anon we'll learn that text, but now the widow's and the orphan's eyes are following from this life to the next, loved spirits torn away from dearest ties, and God to us is speaking through their cries. He calls on us to succour those in need. We're bound together in a common bond. Faith's purest action is a nobler deed. Hope's truest anchor is a helping hand. Love is the key that opes the doors beyond. A few short days ago, and those who rest held this poor lease of earth which now we hold. The pulse of life beats strongly in each breast. 'Tis the same old story often told. We know not when the spark may leave the mould. O brothers, there are weary hearts today in cheerless homes whose sorrow sits in gloom, and lonely weeping ones who can but pray, Thy will be done, whilst bowing to their doom, and longing for the meeting yond the tomb. Not ours to change the mystic second birth, not ours to bring the loved ones back again, but ours to do our duty upon earth, by succouring the mourners who remain. To them we're linked in sympathetic chain. Today humanity's resistless breath sweeps through the creedal barriers and brings us all together to the church of death, the common fold of toilers and of kings, and charity broods o'er with outstretched wings. Today the pure Christ spirit from above with warm vibration thrills through every soul. Today we owe a sacred debt of love. Today our Father claims a special toll at gates which lead to hope's eternal goal. End of section 39. Section 40 of Not Understood and Other Poems by Thomas Bracken. This LibriVox recording is in the public domain. Read by Beeswaxcandle. An Exile's Reverie. Where Tyra sweeps by Manitoto's plain, the Scottish exile sang this fond refrain. Each lonely winding glen, snow-capped mount, awoke the slumbering spring of memory's fount. Before his gaze old faces came and went, and thus the language of his heart found vent. From these wild mountains, crowned with crystal hoar, my thoughts are wafted o'er the moaning sea. Unchecked, untrammelled by the ocean's roar, they wing their flight, dear Caledon, to thee. The wheel of time has rolled o'er many a year, and often have I heard death's mournful knell, since on thy shore I shed the parting tear, and bade thy noble cliffs a long farewell. Yet in my dreams I see each youthful scene, old forms and faces meet my eye. Again I mingle with my schoolmates on the green, or gather berries in the briery lane. The heather smells as sweet as when I strayed to worship nature o'er the purple hill, and still unchanged the waving bracken's shade, the murmuring burn that turns the village mill. The old kirk seems the same as when of yore I offered up my Sabbath morning's prayer to him whom all creation should adore. Ah, where now are the friends that worship there? My dream is past, and stands not morning's test. Stern truth, with mocking finger points around, and whispers, all the loved ones are at rest. They sleep beneath each daisy-covered mound. This vain, deceitful slumber often cheats, by making us appear what we have been. The future's left, the past at daylight fleets. The wide dark gulf of time rolls on between. Ah, time, what shall I call thee? How address the conqueror of kings, the sinner's dread, death's courier, swift, sure, and merciless, man's mocking guide into his narrow bed? Nations and empires have come and gone. Imperial Rome has fallen to the dust. Regardless of events, thou movest on. Thy blade is still unstained by mould or rust. Age after age humanity has paid mortality's inevitable tithe, and still the ghastly tyrant wields his spade. Still millions fall before thy ceaseless scythe. Oh, who unmoved can look upon thy page, and trace thee from creation to the flood? From thence unto the present, at each stage thy sandals have been wet with tears and blood. Forward to chaos! Thou canst not turn back. Procrastination lingers in thy train. Fire, plague, and famine desolate thy track, and countless souls cry after thee in vain. Yet all's not dark upon thy changeful face. When thou wert in thy prime, the Saviour came to wash out with his life drops man's disgrace. Thy brightest scroll records his sacred name. And when Europa's shores refused to yield employment to the hardy sons of toil, and poverty appealed, thy hand unveiled new climes where plenty rested on thy soil. The golden south, washed by Pacific spray, calls thousands from the old world's crowded marts to fertile plains where fame and fortune stay, awaiting willing hands and gallant hearts. Yet fond remembrance clasps the exile's heart. It haunts him still upon this distant strand. Within his breast pure warm emotions start when thoughts are kindled there of fatherland. Here in young Scotia we have glens and hills, as wild and grand as those we left at home. Our pastures are as green, as clear our rills, our coasts are guarded by as fierce a foam. O'er cliffs and crags, ravines and lowly dells, borne on the clouds, wild weird romance looks down, and poesy, heaven's purest offspring, dwells, heedless of cynic's sneer or stoic's frown. What lack we then in this new land of ours? Why come old memories on the midnight blast to woo us back to childhood's happy hours, and let us taste delight that cannot last? Why does the eagle, ere he speeds away, wheel round his eyrie with an anxious care? Why lingers he, for yonder is his prey? Ah, by a mother he was sheltered there. Why do the bright spring morning sparkling showers ascend on soul's warm rays again from earth? Why do they leave the lovely buds and flowers? Because they cling to heaven, their place of birth. And thus it is with man. Where'er he strays on distant plains, he turns his longing eyes to that dear spot, veiled by the ocean's haze, where fancy whispers him the old land lies. The ideal mirror shows to Albion's son his home surrounded by the leafy dells. From wood and copse he sees the streamlets run, endeared to him by recollection's spells. The emigrant from Erin's spray-girt isle oft hears her wild harp singing on the breeze. Its mournful cadence steals a tearful smile, and wafts it to the old home o'er the seas. Then Scotia, land of legendary lore, can thy fond children cease to honour thee? Nursed on the bosom of thy rugged shore, ingratitude shall never come from me. Our new land is a reflex of thy face, its features in the same rough mould were cast. Yet, unlike thee, tradition finds no place. A cloud of barbarism shades the past. No Wallace here to kindle freedom's fire, no Bruce to light the patriotic flame, no Burns to strike the grand melodious lyre, no Scott to trumpet forth his country's fame, no bard of hope, no Ettrick shepherd here, no Ferguson, no plaintive Tannerhid. Hush! Scotia's spirit drops a burning tear. The precious pearl thaws death's dark frozen chill. Hark to her voice. Poor mortal, time cannot efface the memory of the great and good. They live within the breast of each true Scot, though far he roams across the giant flood. The gems that sparkle o'er the azure span that heaven's architect has built on high, recede at dawn from the rude gaze of man, yet still unquenched they sparkle in the sky. And thus it is that bards and heroes stay a time below here to illumine mankind, then take their flight to shine in heaven's day. Those leave their thoughts, and these their deeds behind. Then say not, mortal, that my glorious band have no existence on this golden shore, or o'er the world where'er my children stand, my hero's fame shall live for evermore. End of section 40. Section 41 of Not Understood and Other Poems by Thomas Bracken. This LibriVox recording is in the public domain. Read by Beeswaxcandle. To Sir George Grey, K.C.B. Within a forest stood a grand old tree, whose head above the other plants rose high. He was the forest's firstborn. Sun and sky had known him, and had smiled on him ere he had kinsfolk near, or leafy brethren nigh. The wild birds brought to him their minstrelsy. The singers knew that when the scene was rude, he grew and gave a shelter to their race. By him the wandering melodists were wooed, to thrill and warble in that lonely place. A sanctuary in the solitude he gave to them. In him the birds could trace the forest's king, and so from hills and plains they flew to him, and sang their sweetest strains. End of section 41. Section 42 of Not Understood and Other Poems by Thomas Bracken. This LibriVox recording is in the public domain. Read by Beeswaxcandle. In Memoriam, W.H. Levin. In this new age of this old world of ours, where barefaced bluster often heads the van, and weeds at time outgrow the fairest flowers, it cheers one's heart to meet a gentleman. What constitutes a gentleman? Not gold, but kindness, goodness, courtesy, and love, a spirit fashioned in the master's mould, brave as a lion, gentle as a dove. And such was he who lately passed the gate that Godward leads to everlasting rest. But though he's gone, his memory will wait, embalmed for ever in his country's breast. End of section 42. End of Not Understood and Other Poems by Thomas Bracken.